It's time for a chat with Pat.
Boy, today we are fortunate. We have with us Richard Doerflinger. He's conducted doctoral studies in theology at the University of Chicago and Catholic University of America, and served as Associate Director of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Secretariat of Pro-Life Activities. He's a fellow with the University of Notre Dame, De Nicola Center for Ethics and Culture. Just an amazing guy, and I love this article. It is in Catholic World Report, and it's called Lived Experience and Moral Tradition, Rivals or Partners. Love this. Welcome, Richard. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Oh, I love this article, and I can't even imagine how I'm going to be able to talk to you in this amount of time. But you're talking about Amoris Laetitia, which was a encyclical put out, an exhortation put out by Pope Francis, and the chapter on irregular marriages really kind of evoked a wide interpretation. And so I find it interesting that Pope Leo is now calling the leadership to Rome this fall to discuss Amoris Laetitia. So can you kind of talk a little bit about what's the problem or what are the various interpretations here, especially living tradition or living experience, moral tradition?
Yes, well, the big concern was Chapter 8 of Amoris Laetitia, which, as you say, is about these what are called irregular marital situations, like someone who's divorced and then civilly remarried. And of course, there are at least two places in the Gospels where Jesus said, well, that's adultery, to be having relations with a woman who is not really your wife, because divorce is not in the cards in terms of God's original plan for marriage. And Francis had some comments that in some cases just sounded like he's calling for more compassionate pastoral care for people in these situations to help lead them to fuller appreciation of what they can do morally. But then there were some passages in which he said, it may well be that this person is hearing the voice of God telling him that what he's already doing is the best he can do in this situation. And we have to be respectful of that. And that sounded like individual subjective conscience overriding the teaching of the church and teaching of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So that's been the whole debate. And then that theme of being more based on situation, the lived experience of the individual making this judgment, that ended up giving rise to more statements, broader statements about applying this to the whole realm of moral questions by a synodal group during the Pope Francis's synod that he had appointed theologians, and then also by the Pontifical Academy for Life, which I'm a member of, but like most Academy for Life members, I never heard they were doing this project until they issued a book based on their symposium that took Francis's theme quite a bit farther, and basically said we need to be more subjective and more based on the particular circumstances of the individual in order to make moral judgments. Now, I'm old enough to remember when a certain Episcopalian minister, who later declared himself an atheist, Joseph Fletcher, wrote this book that got a lot of attention called Situation Ethics.
Yep.
And this sounds quite a bit like that.
It does.
So the Academy for Life book came out in 2022.
Okay.
And a group of theologians and ethicists, mainly here in the United States, responded in 24 with this book, Lived Experience and the Search for Truth, which was essentially corrective to this theme and saying, look, the moral tradition is something that's normative for us all. And yes, people can be subjectively less guilty of an evil because of ignorance or duress or whatever.
Right.
But the objective moral norm still stands, and we need to be moving people to living up to that objective norm. So we have a battle of the books now. The latest development is some statements by Pope Leo.
Yes.
Especially one that an address he gave to the Roman Rota. That's the highest tribunal for canon law at the Vatican, in which he seemed to be cutting back from what Francis had seemed to say, and saying that the objective norm, it's speak the truth in charity. That was his theme. You have to have obedience to the truth. Yes, you can do it with compassion. You can do that with love for the people involved. But the greatest charity of all is to save people's souls, and you're not going to save their souls without the truth.
Yeah.
That seems to be a little bit of a different direction from what Francis had begun to take, and that was then amplified by others. So this has been a concern of people who are following moral teaching and moral theology in the church for some years now. Where is all of this going?
Mm-hmm.
And this group of theologians at the Synod even said that we need to be getting in touch with the today of the Holy Spirit. Okay, it sounded like a pop song or something, but the Holy Spirit is telling us the same things about what's good and evil now that the Holy Spirit always did.
Exactly.
So,
that doesn't change. Yeah.
It's a way of just cutting the corners on all of these things that people find hard to live with in the church's teaching.
One of the things, Richard, that I liked in this article, because I think so often we said Vatican II, it talks about the supremacy of conscience, even if it is opposed to what the church is saying. You got to follow your conscience. And so I think that brought in that whole idea of, well, then it's okay to do what I think is best. But you challenged that a little bit in this article. Can you explain that?
Well, you do have to follow your conscience.
Mm-hmm.
But first and foremost, you have to look to the church's teaching to form your conscience, and you have to make sure that you're not acting out of ignorance or misunderstanding of what the gospel teaches. So, and I criticized at least two authors in the Academy for Life book for saying, well, the Vatican II said you have to attend more to the subjective circumstances and conscience. And actually what Vatican II said was you have to base your moral judgments on the objective character of the moral person and his acts.
Yeah.
And so that's just the opposite of what they seem to be gleaning from Vatican II.
Yeah.
There's been ever since Vatican II, there's been a bit of a debate between people who say they're following the spirit of Vatican II and the people who have actually read their documents.
Yeah. That's very true.
So they loaded into the phrase spirit of Vatican II anything that they had wanted to have happened that the council, in fact, did not do.
Yeah.
So this is also a debate that goes way back to the 1960s as well.
Yeah. Oh, Richard, there's so much more in this article that I could talk to you about, but we are done. So have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks so much for being on.
Okay, thank you so much.